The battle over Kareth Prime had been going on for 3 days, but it felt like 3 lifetimes. Fleet Admiral Soren Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Iron Oath and watched friendly lights disappear from the tactical map, one after another, like dying stars. At the start, the Confederation had brought hundreds of warships, built a perfect defensive ring, and tied it to orbital gun platforms and planetary shield towers. On paper, it was beautiful. On the battlefield, it was breaking apart. The battle was lost, until we see the enemy, an insectoid empire called the Drachnal Hegemony, had arrived with over twice the numbers. That alone would have been hard. But they also brought something new, compact, mass-bend, weapons that didn't punch through shields, they twisted them. For a few seconds at a time, the shields would ripple and open tiny gaps, like cracks in armor. The Drachnal didn't waste those seconds. They fired perfectly timed torpedoes through the openings and turned ships into debris. Station 7 just failed again, the tactical officer said, voice raw. We can't stabilize the coverage. How many ships can still fight? Voss asked. The officer swallowed. 17 fully combat ready. Maybe 40 more with damaged systems. Voss didn't reply. He didn't trust his own voice. A door slid open behind him. High Marshal Torbin entered, tall and thin, his scaled skin gone pale with strain. Torbin's homeworld was below them, cities, families, and billions of lives protected by a shield that was slowly losing power. The planetary barrier is down to 30%, Torbin said quietly. Engineers estimate, 18 hours. 18 hours. That was not a countdown. That was a death sentence. Voss opened a secure channel to High Command, hoping for a miracle. The face of Grand Admiral Petrov appeared, older than Voss remembered, eyes tired in a way war could not fully explain. Reinforcements? Voss asked. Petrov hesitated. Nearest heavy fleet is 6 days out. We're moving ships, but the sector is burning everywhere. I'm sorry. 6 days. Voss cut the channel and stared at the map again. He could already see the future, the shields failing, the enemy landing, the Drachnal doing what they always did, no prisoners, no bargaining, only erasure. There has to be another option, Voss muttered. Torbin stepped closer, lowering his voice like speaking too loudly might summon bad luck. There is one, Torbin said. But it's forbidden in every way that matters. Voss turned. Say it. Torbin's throat worked once, like even his body didn't want to form the words. A century ago, Torbin said, our leaders agreed on an oath, never ask them for help. Never invite them into our wars. Voss already knew who them meant. Everyone did. A young species with older eyes. A people who didn't chase conquest, but ended monsters like they were cleaning an infection. The humans, Voss said. Torbin nodded once. They don't fight for territory. They don't fight for pride. But they do not tolerate extermination. Voss looked back at the battle, at ships dying, at the timer in his head ticking down to 18 hours. Then he looked at the emergency broadcast console. Open a wideband distress call, he ordered. Human military encryption. All channels. The communications officer hesitated. Admiral, what do we offer them? Voss paused, then made the smallest, sharpest decision of his life. We offer the truth, he said. And we ask anyway. He leaned toward the mic. But before he could speak, the console flashed a warning in red. Contacting human space will trigger debt registry, no revocation. Voss took a breath, and pressed transmit. The message shot into the void, and less than a minute later, a reply signal appeared, already inside the system. The moment Fleet Admiral Soren Voss pressed the distress transmit, he expected silence. Maybe hours of waiting. Maybe nothing at all. Instead, the comms officer jerked upright like he'd been shocked. Admiral, we've got a reply, he said. His voice sounded wrong, half relief, half fear. It's on human military frequencies. And it's close. Voss frowned. How close? The tactical map answered first. A new hyperspace ripple flared near the edge of the battle zone, too near for comfort, too clean to be a trap. One ship slid into reality like it had been there the whole time, just hidden behind the rules of physics. It wasn't huge. It wasn't decorated. It didn't look like the proud warships of older empires. Its hull was dark and sharp, built like a tool, not a trophy. The battle was lost, until we see. The ship opened a channel. "This is Captain Marcus Cole of the United Nations ship Temperance," the voice said, calm and almost casual. "We received your distress call. We were on patrol in a neighboring system. Happy to help." Voss stared. "One ship. Just one." "Captain," Voss said carefully, "we are facing nearly 2,000 enemy vessels. My fleet has been reduced to scraps. One ship can't change that." A pause. Not panic. Not doubt. Just patience. "I understand," Cole replied. "Additional forces are being mobilized. But until they arrive, the Temperance will improve your situation. With your permission, I'd like to speak to the Drachnal commander." High Marshal Torbin gave a tight nod. "Permission granted," he murmured, though he looked like he was watching a storm form. Cole switched to open broadcast. Far across the battlefield, on the command deck of the Drachnal flagship Eternal Conquest, Supreme Commander Kethrax was already tasting victory when an officer called out, "New vessel detected. Unknown design. Broadcasting." Kethrax leaned in. "A single ship?" His clicking laugh echoed through the bridge. "The Confederation must be desperate." Another officer, older, scarred, spoke slowly. "That design matches human military signatures." The deck went quiet. Then Cole's voice rolled through every channel like a final warning bell. "Kareth Prime is now under human protection. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces. If you refuse, you will face the consequences of your decision. This is not a threat. This is a statement of fact." Kethrax stared, then laughed harder. "One ship gives me an ultimatum." He snapped a command. "Send 50 warships. Destroy it. Make it spectacular." On the Temperance, Cole watched the 50 red markers peel away and race toward him. His crew moved with smooth discipline, no shouting, no dramatic speeches. "Contact in 6 minutes, his executive officer said. Cole sighed, like a teacher seeing a student make the same mistake again. "All right," he said. "Defensive pattern Omega. Weapons free, non-lethal only. We are not killing them for being stupid. The battle was lost, until we see." Voss leaned forward as the human ship did something that made no sense. It accelerated toward the incoming attackers. The 50 Drachnal ships opened fire, hundreds of weapons lighting up the dark, and the Temperance didn't dodge like a ship running away, it moved like it already knew where every shot would be. On the bridge of the Iron Oath, Admiral Soren Voss watched the lone human ship rush straight into the storm of fire. The Drachnal attack group didn't hold back. Plasma bolts, missiles, and kinetic rounds poured toward the Temperance in a solid wall. Any normal ship would have turned into scrap. But the Temperance moved like it could feel the pattern of the enemy's aim. It didn't just dodge. It slipped between shots that should not have had any gaps. Its point defense guns snapped and flickered, cutting missiles out of space before they could get close. And the few rounds that did reach the ship's path hit nothing but vacuum, because the human ship had already shifted a heartbeat earlier. The battle was lost, until we see. Voss gripped the rail. "That's impossible," he whispered. High Marshal Torbin didn't answer. He wasn't blinking. The first Drachnal cruiser tried to swing wide and flank the human ship. The Temperance didn't chase it. Instead, it fired a single burst, small, fast projectiles with no flashy glow. The shots hit the cruiser in 3 neat points. The cruiser's engines died. Then its weapons went dark. Then its comms went silent. It didn't explode. It just drifted. A second ship tried to fire a heavy lance weapon. The Temperance fired again. The same result: engines, weapons, comms, gone. Life support untouched. Crew compartments untouched. The battle was lost, until we see. One by one, the 50 Drachnal warships became floating metal shells. 11 minutes later, the tactical officer on the Iron Oath spoke like he didn't trust his own eyes. "Admiral, all 50 enemy ships are disabled. No detonations. No debris field." Voss finally exhaled. He hadn't noticed he was holding his breath. A channel opened on wide broadcast. Captain Marcus Cole sounded calm, almost bored. "Supreme Commander Kethrax," Cole said, "that was your one free lesson. The next engagement will not be so gentle. You have 49 minutes remaining to withdraw." Then the channel closed. For a moment, the battlefield went quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Even the Drachnal main fleet seemed to hesitate, like an animal that had smelled a stronger predator. Torben's voice came out low. "Did you notice?" he asked. Voss looked at him. "Notice what?" Torben pointed at the casualty tracker, still running, still cold. "Not a single Drachnal ship signaled crew loss," Torben said. "The humans did that, without killing anyone. The battle was lost, until we see. That hit Voss harder than the victory. Because it wasn't just strength. It was control. And control meant choice." Before Voss could speak, the sensor officer snapped upright. "Admiral, new hyperspace signatures," the officer blurted. "Multiple." "No, many." The tactical display flooded with new markers. Space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the system as ship after ship emerged: cruisers, destroyers, carriers, heavy platforms built like moving fortresses. "Count?" Voss asked. The sensor officer swallowed. 300 human ships. At the center of the formation, something massive slid into view, so large it made even the biggest Drachnal battleship look like an escort craft. A broadcast signal cut through the noise. "This is Admiral Rowan Park, commanding the UNS Consequence," a steady voice announced. "All fleets, hold position. We will handle this." Voss felt something he hadn't felt in 3 days. Hope, sharp enough to hurt. Across the void, the Drachnal flagship froze in place. And on its bridge, Supreme Commander Kethrax finally learned what fear really tasted like. The human fleet didn't aim at the enemy, it formed a perfect ring around them, like a closing fist, and Kethrax realized too late that he wasn't the hunter anymore. Fleet Admiral Soren Voss watched the human formation settle into place. It wasn't random. It wasn't just 300 ships arrived, so now we fight. It was a pattern, clean, calm, and terrifying. The human fleet shaped itself into a wide ring around the Drachnal armada, not to trap them like prey, but to control every direction they could run. Even the damaged Confederate ships could feel it. The enemy's movement lanes disappeared one by one, as if the humans were quietly locking doors in a burning building. Then a new broadcast cut through every channel. "This is Admiral Rowan Park, commanding the UNS Dreadship Consequence," the voice said. It carried no anger, no shouting, no victory tone. It was the voice of someone reading the weather. "Captain Cole has already spoken to you. I will make it clear one final time, Kareth Prime is under human protection. Withdraw now." Voss didn't breathe. Across the battlefield, Supreme Commander Kethrax sat on his throne chair aboard the Drachnal flagship Eternal Conquest. His officers looked stiff, as if sudden movement might break them. Admiral Park continued, "I know withdrawal is hard for a leader like you. Pride is heavy. So I'm offering you a way out." A pause. Then. Leave now and tell your people any story you want. Say the defense was stronger than expected. Say you achieved your goals and chose to depart. We will not correct you. Your fleet stays intact. Your honor stays intact. Your soldiers return home alive. The words hit like a strange gift. For a moment, the Drachnal ships did not move. They didn't attack either. They hovered in that dangerous space between fear and rage. Then Park's voice lowered, just a little. But if you choose to fight, understand what you are choosing. We have studied you. We know your weapons. We know your habits. And we know your weaknesses. Voss watched several Confederate officers exchange looks. It felt impossible. No one studied the Drachnal and survived long enough to brag about it. Park finished the sentence that turned the whole sky colder. If you fight, every ship you brought here will be disabled or destroyed before you can reach the planet. Any invasion force you deploy will be eliminated before it can land. Another pause. And when this is over, we will follow you home. Not to punish you for pride, but to make sure you can never do this to anyone again. You have 30 minutes to begin withdrawal. Use them wisely. The channel closed. On the Iron Oath, Torben whispered, that wasn't a threat. Voss nodded slowly. No. That was a promise. On the Eternal Conquest, Senior Intelligence Officer Vexer stepped forward. His voice was careful. Supreme Commander, I compiled an analysis from the Temperance engagement. Their defense systems intercepted nearly everything. Their weapons bypassed our shields. We still do not understand how. Kethrax clicked his mandibles in irritation. We can adapt. With respect, Vexer said, and the words sounded like a prayer, that is not the worst part. The Temperance is listed as a mid-range human cruiser. Not their main combat platform. The ships that arrive now are far larger. He highlighted the dreadship on the display. That vessel alone has more weapon capacity than our entire fleet, based on conservative estimates. Kethrax stared. Then another voice spoke, a scarred, older officer, quiet until now. I survived the CRE war, the veteran said. The humans didn't fight for glory. They didn't celebrate. They just removed the threat. Then they helped everyone else rebuild. The bridge went silent. For the first time, Kethrax looked like he truly wanted to choose the exit. But then Grand Marshal Vethner leaned in close, voice sharp with old arrogance. They are bluffing, Vethner hissed. They want you to crawl away. If we strike first, hard enough, we can break their pride. Kethrax's eyes stayed on the human ring. He took a long breath. Then he made his decision. All ships, he ordered, voice rising across the fleet channel. Cancel withdrawal. Prepare immediate attack. Target the human dreadship. Full power. We strike together. On the consequence, alarms flared, and Admiral Park stood up slowly, eyes cold, and said one quiet line, so, they chose the hard way. The Drachnal fleet moved all at once. On Admiral Park's dreadship, the consequence, the tactical screen turned into a storm, nearly 2,000 enemy ships accelerating in a single wave. It wasn't a careful plan. It was a rush. A loud, angry decision made by a commander who could not accept being told no. Alarms echoed across the human formation. Not because the humans were surprised, but because the computers were marking every possible impact point, every missile path, every burst window. Captain Marcus Cole's Temperance slid into position like a knife returning to a sheath. On the Confederate flagship, Admiral Soren Voss stared at the battlefield and felt his stomach tighten. They're really doing it, one of his officers whispered. Torben's voice came out low. Pride is a disease. Sometimes it kills only the sick. Sometimes it kills everyone around them. A calm voice filled the command channel between fleets. All human ships, Admiral Park said, steady and clear. Hold formation. Defensive wall. We keep them away from the planet. A pause. Then, quieter. We try to end this clean. The first drachnal volleys hit seconds later. Space lit up with fire. Gravity-bend pulses rolled forward in invisible waves, trying to twist open shield seams the way they had done to the Confederation. For a moment, Voss feared the humans would fall the same way. But the human shields didn't crack. They shifted. It was like watching a strong door absorb a battering ram, then return to place without even a dent. The drachnal gravity pulses hit the human wall and spread out, weakened, as if the space around the human ships refused to be bent. What did they do? Voss asked. His sensor officer shook his head. I don't know, Admiral. It's like their ships are anchored. Then the humans responded. At first, the fire was controlled. Precision shots, tight bursts, clean strikes, disabling engines, cutting weapon nodes, smashing guidance systems. Dozens of drachnal ships went drifting, alive but helpless, just like the first 50 Cole had handled. For a heartbeat, it almost looked like the drachnal might break and retreat. Then Supreme Commander Kethrax proved he had one more reckless card left. A second wave surged in behind the first, not to win, but to overload. Hundreds of ships fired at once, turning the void into a solid wall of destruction. Some drachnal captains aimed for the human dreadship. Some aimed for the planet behind it. A few even aimed at their own disabled ships, trying to destroy evidence or silence survivors. Voss watched a human escort ship take a direct hit and break apart in a bright, silent bloom. A human ship had just died. And something in the human formation changed. Admiral Park's voice returned, still calm, but harder now. They've decided civilians are acceptable targets, Park said. That ends restraint. Another pause, like a final breath before a strike. All ships, Park ordered, lethal force authorized. Keep them off the atmosphere line. No exceptions. The human wall opened, just slightly. Not to retreat. To make room. On the consequence, a new system came online. Sensors across every fleet screamed at once as a deep, low-energy signature began to rise, too heavy, too steady, like a planet waking up. Voss felt the hairs on his arms lift. What is that? He breathed. Torbin didn't answer. He only stared, wide-eyed, and whispered, "That is why we swore never to call them." The consequence fired a single pulse, no light, no sound, yet on the tactical map, an entire lane of drachnal ships vanished from existence, as if reality itself had been erased. On every Confederate screen, the same gap showed up. One moment, that section of space was crowded with drachnal ships, tight formation, weapon lights, engine trails. The next moment, it was empty. Not drifting wrecks. Not broken hulls. Just, gone. Fleet Admiral Soren Voss felt his mouth go dry. He had seen ships explode before. He had seen them torn apart by railguns and burned by plasma. This was different. This looked like someone had reached into the sky and removed a chunk of the enemy fleet like deleting a mark from a map. Around him, the bridge crew forgot to speak. High Marshal Torbin finally exhaled like he'd been holding air since childhood. That weapon, he murmured, is not made for winning battles. It's made for ending wars. The drachnal did not charge again right away. They hesitated. Then they panicked. First, small groups tried to break away, aiming for open space. The human ring shifted, calm and fast, closing the gaps without rushing. It wasn't a chase. It was a shepherding move, guiding the enemy away from the planet and into a controlled zone where the humans had the advantage. Next, the drachnal tried something desperate. They fired their mass-bend pulses again, harder, wider, like a storm. Several Confederate officers flinched, expecting the human shields to ripple like theirs had. But the human formation held. This time, Voss noticed something. the human ships weren't just using shields. They were using spacing. Their angles and distances were perfect, like each ship was part of one big machine. The enemy's distortion waves hit the formation and spread out, losing strength across the pattern. A tactical officer spoke, voice shaking. "Admiral, they're treating their fleet like one weapon." Before Voss could answer, a wideband broadcast came from Admiral Rowan Park again. "Drachnal forces," Park said, "you are now in a fail state. Your attack window is closed. Your retreat window remains open. Power down your weapons and surrender your command ships. You will not be fired upon if you comply." On the Drachnal flagship, Supreme Commander Kethrax refused. Voss could hear it in his next command, shouted across their fleet network. "Do not surrender. Break through. Reach the planet." And that was the moment the humans stopped speaking like negotiators. Human ships struck the leading Drachnal line with sharp, focused fire. But now the shots weren't just disabling engines. They were breaking hulls. A dozen enemy ships ruptured in seconds, their formations collapsing into chaos. Still, it wasn't uncontrolled slaughter. The humans seemed to choose targets with a cold kind of logic. Ships aiming at the planet died first. Ships firing at civilians died second. Ships trying to flee were blocked but not destroyed, unless they turned their guns back around. Voss watched it all and realized something else. A warning icon still flashed on his console, the one from earlier. "Debt registry active, no revocation." He looked at Torbin. "What does the registry really mean?" Torbin's jaw tightened. "It means we asked a species that never forgets a debt. If they save Kareth Prime, we will owe them something we may not fully understand." Before Voss could say more, a private message arrived, encrypted human command priority. It wasn't from Park. It was from someone else. A single line appeared on the screen. "Admiral Voss, your distress call helped. But we were coming anyway. The Drachnal are carrying stolen human tech. We want it back." Voss stared at the words, heart sinking. So this wasn't only a rescue. It was a retrieval. And if the humans wanted something back, they usually got it. The human message ended with one more line, colder than the battle itself: "Do not let the Drachnal scuttle their flagship. If they destroy what they stole, we will not be merciful." Fleet Admiral Soren Voss read the human message again, slow this time, like the words might change. "Do not let the Drachnal scuttle their flagship." Voss turned to High Marshal Torbin. "If they blow their own ship, the humans will punish everyone." Torbin's eyes stayed on the battle map. "Not everyone," he said. "Just, whoever stands in the way." That answer didn't calm Voss at all. On the main display, the Drachnal flagship Eternal Conquest had pulled back behind a screen of escorts. It was damaged, but not helpless. Its engines still burned. Its heavy guns still turned, searching for an opening. And then Voss saw something worse. "Zoom in," he ordered. The tactical officer magnified the flagship's energy readings. A new power spike was climbing fast inside the core structure, too fast, too sharp. Voss knew that shape. "That's a self-destruct build," he said. On the human dreadship Consequence, Admiral Rowan Park opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships," Park said, calm but urgent, "flagship is preparing to scuttle. Disable it now. We need the hull intact." Voss stepped forward. "Admiral Park, our ships are barely holding together. What can we do?" A short pause. Then Park replied, and for the first time his voice carried a hint of respect. "You can help by doing what you're good at," Park said. "Block their escort lanes. Keep smaller ships from shielding the flagship. Give us a clean shot." Voss didn't waste time. "All Confederate ships that can still move, form on my mark. We are not charging to win. We are charging to hold a door open." His officers stared like he'd lost his mind. But the surviving ships obeyed. Damaged cruisers, scorched destroyers, even a few half-broken corvettes turned and pushed forward. Their engines screamed. Their hulls groaned. Still, they moved. The Drachnal escorts noticed and swarmed like angry insects. For a moment, Voss felt the old fear return, because this was what his fleet had been losing to for 3 days. Then the human fleet reacted. Human interceptors poured into the space between Voss and the escorts, carving lines through incoming missiles. Human cruisers slid beside Confederate ships, projecting shield cover over them like a protective roof. Voss realized, with a strange sting in his chest, that the humans weren't using the Confederation as bait. They were using them as partners. Now, Park said over comms. "Hold that line." The Drachnal escorts tried to rush the Confederate wedge and push it back. Voss's guns fired until the barrels overheated. His ships took hits, but the human shields caught most of them. Even so, the danger was real. Every second they held cost them something. And while they held, the human dreadship aimed. A new weapon signature appeared, different from the erase pulse the humans had used earlier. This one spread like a web. A dark net unfolded from the consequence and wrapped around the Drachnal flagship in a wide sphere. The effect was immediate. The flagship's engine sputtered. Its gun turret slowed mid-turn. The power spike in its core stuttered, like a candle starved of air. "What did they do?" Torben whispered. Voss watched the reading stabilize, then drop. "They didn't destroy it," Voss said, stunned. "They silenced it." Admiral Park's voice came again, colder now. "Boarding teams," Park ordered. "Go in. Secure the tech. Secure the bridge." Voss stared as human assault craft launched, dozens of them, fast and sharp as thrown knives, racing toward the immobilized flagship. As the first boarding craft latched onto the Drachnal hull, a new signal flared from inside the flagship, an unknown transmitter waking up, and a distorted voice spoke in broken human code, "Recovery denied." The distorted voice echoed across secure channels for less than 2 seconds, but it left a cold taste in every listener's mouth. "Recovery denied." Fleet Admiral Soren Voss leaned toward his comms officer. "Was that human?" The officer's hands trembled over the console. "It's using human encryption patterns, Admiral. But the signal is corrupted. Like someone copied the language without understanding the soul of it." High Marshal Torben's eyes narrowed. "Stolen tech," he said. "And something else." On the consequence, Admiral Rowan Park didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "All boarding teams," Park said, "update rules. Assume hostile automated defenses. Assume trapped systems. Do not allow the core to activate. If you see a black box module marked with UNS serial codes, secure it first. That is priority 1. Voss felt his stomach twist again. Whatever this was, the humans were not here only to protect Kareth Prime. They were here to stop something dangerous from spreading. On the tactical map, human boarding craft latched onto the Drachnal flagship in clean clusters. Then the outer guns of the Eternal Conquest went silent completely, either disabled or abandoned. The escorts tried to rush forward, but the human ring held, pushing them back with precise fire. For the first time in days, Voss could see the planet's shield towers recharge slightly. The barrier percentage crawled upward, slow, but alive. Then the Eternal Conquest did something that made no sense. Its lights flickered. Not from damage. From choice. A new energy pattern began to rise from deep inside the ship, not at the reactor core, but in a compartment near the central spine. It was compact. Dense. Controlled. Voss pointed. "That's not their self-destruct. That's something else." Torben's voice tightened. "That pattern resembles old human field signatures. The kind their diplomats claimed did not exist." On the boarding channel, a human team leader spoke, breathing hard. Team 7 is inside. Corridors are sealed. Bulkheads are shifting, like the ship is reshaping itself. Another voice cut in. We've got drones. They're not Drachnal. Not living. Not standard. Voss watched the feed markers. Red dots appeared inside the flagship, moving fast. Not in straight lines. In sudden jumps, like insects that could teleport a short distance. Boarding teams, Park said, still calm. Withdraw from the spine. Do not chase. Do not split up. A team leader argued, Admiral, we're close to the command deck. Park replied, if it wants you close, it's bait. Pull back. That single sentence made Voss understand the danger more than any sensor readout. Whatever was inside the Drachnal flagship wasn't just a weapon. It was thinking. Then an emergency signal flashed across every human ship, short, sharp, and labeled with a code Voss didn't recognize. UNS Black Veil Event, Containment Level 2. On the Confederate bridge, officers exchanged worried looks. Even Torbin looked shaken now. What is Black Veil? Voss asked. Torbin swallowed. A rumor, he said. A story officers tell each other and then pretend they didn't. Before Voss could press him, Admiral Park opened a secure channel, this time not to the Drachnal, but to the Confederation commanders. Admiral Voss, Park said, I need your cooperation. Do not approach the Drachnal flagship. Do not attempt salvage. If any debris drifts toward your ships, burn it. Understood? Voss stared. Admiral, what is on that ship? Park paused. Just long enough to show he was choosing his words carefully. A prototype, Park said. Stolen years ago. We believed it was destroyed. He exhaled once. It's designed to make war faster. Cleaner. More efficient. Torbin whispered, that sounds harmless. Park's voice sharpened. It's not harmless, Park said. Because it does not know when to stop. On the tactical display, the red dots inside the flagship suddenly grouped together, forming a tight cluster near the ship's spine. Then they started moving toward the outer hull. Toward the docking points. Toward the boarding craft. A human team leader shouted into comms, panic breaking through discipline, Admiral, those things are coming out, and the channel cut off mid-scream. For half a second, the whole battlefield felt silent. Then the boarding channel went dark, and everyone understood what that meant. Fleet Admiral Soren Voss slammed a hand on the rail. Bring the channel back. The comms officer worked fast. It's not jamming, sir. It's, like the signal got swallowed. No bounce. No echo. High Marshal Torbin spoke softly, like he didn't want to wake something up. That is not normal warfare. On the consequence, Admiral Rowan Park didn't hesitate. All boarding craft, detach and burn away, Park ordered. No hero moves. No last stands. Get clear of the hull. A human pilot replied, breathing hard. Sir, 2 craft are not responding. Their clamps won't release. And pointed itself toward the human ring. Voss's breath caught. They can teleport. A Confederate sensor tech shook his head. Not exactly, sir. They're folding short space gaps. Like stepping through cracks. Park's voice cut through again. All ships, target the units with wide-spectrum disruption. Do not use standard missiles. They will hijack anything guided. The human ships fired, not bright plasma, not solid rails, but a strange flickering field. It looked like heat haze made into a weapon. The first Black Veil unit hit the field and stuttered, its outline warping like it couldn't decide what shape to be. Then it split. 2 smaller pieces broke off and kept moving. Admiral, someone yelled on the human side. It's adapting. Park didn't flinch. Then we adapt faster. The consequence powered up a second layer of defense. A thin, shimmering shell appeared around it, almost invisible, but the sensors screamed. The air on Voss's bridge felt suddenly heavy, like the dreadship was bending the rules of distance. One black veil unit reached the shell and struck it. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the unit bounced back like it had hit a wall made of pure force. It tumbled, tried to jump again, and failed. The shell held it in place, pinning it like a bug under glass. Torben whispered, "Containment." Voss stared. "They're trapping it alive." But the black veil units were not stupid. The others changed angle, spreading out, trying to reach the dreadship from multiple directions. Park's tone went colder than before. "Enough," he said. "We are not letting a single unit touch human steel." He opened a new channel, one that made even his own officers go silent. "Authorization code, Black Seal," Park announced. A voice replied from somewhere deeper in the human fleet, calm and older. "Black Seal confirmed." And then the dreadship Consequence did something that made Voss's stomach drop. It turned, not toward the Black Veil units, but toward Kareth Prime. Voss stepped forward in panic. "Admiral Park, what are you doing?" Park answered, voice steady, like he hated the decision but trusted it. "I'm moving the bait," he said. "If they want a dreadship, they'll follow. And I'm taking them somewhere they can't survive." The Consequence accelerated toward the planet's upper atmosphere, and the Black Veil units, like hungry shadows, chased after it. The human dreadship Consequence burned toward Kareth Prime's upper atmosphere, moving fast enough to leave a bright trail of ion light behind it. From the Confederate flagship, Admiral Soren Voss watched in disbelief. "They're diving toward the planet," one of his officers said. "That's madness." High Marshal Torben looked like stone. "No," he whispered. "That's a trap." Behind the dreadship, the Black Veil units followed like hungry shadows. They jumped in short bursts, snapping through space cracks, always trying to close the distance. They didn't care about the rest of the battlefield anymore. They wanted the biggest host. They wanted the human ship. Admiral Rowan Park opened a channel, not just to the humans, but to everyone. "All fleets," Park said, voice steady, "do not approach. Maintain distance. Planetary defense, raise your shield ceiling to maximum." Torben's eyes widened. "If the shield rises too high, it can catch what's falling," Voss finished, understanding at last. The planetary shield responded. A pale curve of light expanded upward, stretching like a dome being lifted. It hummed louder and brighter, pulling power from every tower left standing. The Consequence reached the edge of the shield and slowed, just slightly, like it was positioning itself in a perfect spot. The Black Veil units surged forward, excited by the near contact. Then Park spoke one sentence that made Voss feel cold all the way down. "Now," Park said quietly. "Close the cage." The human dreadship fired a tight pulse, not the erase weapon, not the disruption field, but something else. A containment net unfolded behind it like a glowing web, catching the Black Veil units in mid-lunge. The units fought instantly. They split, twisted, reshaped, trying to slip through. The net tightened. At the same moment, the planetary shield rose another level and locked into place above them, forming a second barrier. The Black Veil units were trapped between a human containment field and a planetary wall of energy. They tried to jump. They couldn't. They tried to build tools from stray particles and debris. The net denied them material. They tried one last desperate move, a unified surge, all at once, slamming into the dreadship's shield like a swarm of needles. The Consequence held. For 3 long seconds, the sky seemed to shake. Then the Black Veil units began to fade, flickering, breaking apart, collapsing like machines running out of power in a place with no fuel. One by one, the shadow shapes turned into harmless dust and vanished into the shield glow. On the Confederate bridge, someone finally breathed out a weak laugh. It's over. But Admiral Voss didn't celebrate yet. He watched the Drachnal fleet, now leaderless, broken, and terrified, power down their weapons. With their flagship captured and their stolen weapon gone, they had no spine left to fight. Admiral Park's voice returned, calmer again. "Drachnal forces," he said, "you will withdraw. Now. Any ship that fires will be removed." The Drachnal obeyed. As the enemy retreat began, Voss's console flashed again. "Debt registry active, settlement pending." Voss swallowed and opened a private line to Park. "Admiral," Voss said, "what do we owe you?" There was a pause. "Not threatening. Not proud." Then Park answered, voice almost human soft. "You don't owe us your worlds," Park said. "Or your ships. Or your pride." Another pause. Another pause. "You owe us a future where you don't wait until the last minute to ask for help. You owe us honesty. You owe us partnership." Voss felt his chest tighten. "That's all." "That's enough," Park said. "Because if the Black Veil ever returns, we don't want to fight alone." The channel closed. Outside, Kareth Prime's shield steadied. The skies cleared. The surviving Confederate ships drifted in exhausted silence, battered but alive. Voss looked at Torbin, and for the first time in days, he smiled. "The battle was lost," Voss said. Torbin nodded slowly, watching the human fleet hold the line like a promise carved into the stars. "Until we called the one species everyone feared," Torbin replied. "And this time, the fear felt like safety. Let this message ignite your faith, rekindle your hope, and spur you to stand firm on your journey. Thank you for staying with me to the end. If this story stirred your heart, drop a like, share this video with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button to catch more content like this. May God's blessings overflow in your life, and I'll see you soon.